I was born in 1926, and by 1965, I had immigrated officially, permanently, 4 times. Holland, Brazil, Akron, Ohio. Third time, Akron, Ohio, back to the Netherlands. And finally, from the Netherlands to California in the summer of 1965. We arrived in December at Brooklyn Port, Brooklyn Harbor. We traveled by train to Akron through a snowy, cold landscape on the way to Akron, Ohio, where my brother had his home and work. For the first time, we saw houses lit up with outdoor lighting that we had never seen before. And it was one farmhouse after another that showed the Christmas lighting in December. And that was quite a sight to see for us from Brazil. In Akron, Ohio, my brother was waiting at the train platform and to take us home to his house. And that was a house full of kids. He had 4 children at that time, and I came with 2 kids. Miriam, born in Sao Paulo, and Martin, born in the Dutch colony Castrolanda in the state of Paraná. I want to give kudos, big kudos, to Brother Henk and his wife Anne for accepting us in their fairly small house in Akron, Ohio. Hank and Anne are no longer with us, but I'm always very grateful, and so was my wife, Tiek, of course, for the welcome we got in this new country, USA. In Akron, in addition to Miriam and Martin, as the Brazilians born in that place, 2 more were born and were the Americans in the family. Mark was numero uno. He was the first. He beat his parents to become a US citizen, and then followed by a lovely baby, a rosebud in the family. Her name, Maureen. And don't you guys ever forget that. I got to work for Goodyear in its biggest #1 plant in Akron, Ohio. That plant was started in 1900. And I got into a nice slot there. Goodyear hired college graduates and gave them an opportunity to work as a worker, a tire builder, a cleaner-upper, whatever it was. Whatever job could be filled by the squadron. My department was the quality squadron. And these guys, I happened to be in on it as well. They let you work as a worker, but you did not have to be a union worker, because after 2 years on the squadron, you made up your mind where you wanted to work, in what department. Was it finance? Was it accounting? Was it the chemical lab? Or was it just plain factory work as a supervisor. I went in there and then for 2 years placed by the office to go to Department A, Department B, Department C, wherever, and then work 8 hours in that department. And afterwards, you had to write a report on what you had learned, what you thought could be improved upon. So you got college people coming in and doing their thing. And in the meantime, finding out this is an area where I would like to have my career built in. And in my case, after 2 years on the squad, I chose a department that made air springs for the Lincoln automobile. And that was at that time brand new. So I was at the start of this department, and I thought I could move on. After having worked for Goodyear 6 years in Akron, Ohio, I happened to get an invitation by my brother-in-law in the Netherlands, who was the owner of a brick factory. He was in wholesale of brick, and he was always dreaming of having his own brick factory. And he bought that brick factory, but he did not have the right overseer when he was not there on his brick factory. He was afraid that maybe the manager, a non-academic person, would undersell, would sell out big supplies, large supplies of brick coming out of the oven, the brick oven. And he needed someone to check that out. And he offered me the job with the title of director of the brick factory at a small place called Tricht. Dutch name, Tricht. And I thought that over. He offered me also a 1 week stay in the Netherlands, paying for the trip and for being with him at home. And I accepted that because I saw more future in this management job than where I was at that time at Goodyear. So I flew over to the Netherlands. It was the first time in 10 years that I had returned in Holland. And we came to an agreement for me to live there in the Netherlands. And that was going to be my second immigration back to the home country. And that's what happened. So I accepted his offer and started to work in the Netherlands again in 1961. Taken my position there as director, fancy name, fancy title, with about 20 employees in the factory itself. So my wife and the 4 children went with me, and we arrived in the Netherlands, where my wife Tiek got very sick, kind of close to pneumonia. And then she picked it up on the trip across the ocean. And as we went across the ocean, the ship was loaded with ice, and it was very slippery, the decks. It was not a good trip. And above us passed by, high up, John Glenn, the first American astronaut. He went one trip across the Atlantic Ocean. landing later back in the USA. So we had that honor. He always said, John Glenn said goodbye to us. He passed over the ship, the Raindom, the Raindom. Here I happen to have a picture of the ship, the Raindom, crossing the ocean. Being in the Netherlands, I enjoyed in my position, the new position of director of the brick factory in Tricht. However, there was a malaise, a economic downturn coming up in the future. Many brick factories were closing down. And my brother-in-law felt that it was also time for him to close down the remodeled Tricht factory, much to his sadness. And moreover, my downturn, because that was the only reason that I was in the Netherlands. And immigration means permanency. It was a permanent move. Every of those 4 immigrations have definitely a permanency in itself. You don't immigrate for a vacation time. When you immigrate, you mean to say, I'm settling in this new country, new place, wherever, and I will be a citizen of that area. So in the meantime, when I was in Akron, I had changed my citizenship from Dutch to USA. I was an official US citizen by court. And when I was in the Netherlands, I was just an American visiting the Netherlands. I was not a citizen again. I might have been switching after maybe 10 years, whatever. I would then certainly have lived again officially as a Dutch citizen, but we never got to that. Being in the Netherlands, I was planning to become a Dutch citizen again, with the whole family, of course, you know. In the Netherlands, the economic condition for me started to deteriorate. It came to the point that in April of 1965, my brother-in-law told me he has to sell the plant. And there was no room for me to go with the factory where he sold it to, another brick maker. The new brick maker had 2 sons my age, and there was no need for me to be the third body in that management position. So I had to make do with the let go on my position. But that was the only reason that I had come to Europe. My wife, Teek, was very happy in the USA and wanted nothing more than going back. The first day she arrived in the Netherlands with its bad, foggy, rainy, windy season all year round. And then, of course, starting out there with pneumonia on top of that. So when we decided what to do, then she said, "I like to go back to the USA." I said, "But maybe I don't find the job I want, and you may be going to work as well." Immediately, she said, "I'll work my derriere off. I want to go back to the USA. No better place in the world to live." politically, everything. And they are the liberators of us from the Nazis. So her heart was big for the USA. Well, then we decided I would go to the USA and find a place to live. So, what was my thought? Money first, climate first. Well, that was clear very quickly. Climate first. The money will come later. And she trusted me that I just stepped on land and I would have a job. That was her trust in me. And I felt very good about that, her trust. I have a picture of me leaving the Netherlands. August 1965, we were on vacation in the north of Holland on just an island called Terschelling. When you look at the Dutch map of Holland, you see a series of little islands in the North Sea, and one of them is called Terschelling, and we had a marvelous time. It's a regular Dutch treat for families to have vacation at Terschelling. And this is the picture. I had to go and catch a plane at Schiphol, Amsterdam, from this island, and left the kids, my wife, on the island, and then fly the next day from Schiphol to San Francisco. Terschelling Island has a pier, and people wanted to say goodbye to the ferry boat from the mainland, north of Holland, to this island and back again. You stand up at the end of the pier when the ferry comes by, and here's the ferry coming by with me waving at the whole family there. I'm leaving Europe, guys. You're on your own. I may never come back. And I had, I'm joking on this, but I had other feelings other than joking. Laughing wasn't in my face at this time, and I waved them goodbye. It's quite a move for the family as well as for myself. Go all the way to, and at this time, I knew where I was going to, California. This is me at the age of 39, not knowing where I would end up. I had an offer from an aunt of mine in Atherton, rich Atherton, millionaire Atherton. And she was a rich lady. And I had written her that I was going back to the States. And she reacted very favorably to me by saying, I have a bedroom, a guest room. Why don't you come to California? Because it's tops in the country, in the world. You find any kind of job here. The climate is paradise-like. And I have a room for you. So you can look around wherever you want to go, stay in California. I took her up on that. And that's when I took off. And a day later, I was flying to San Francisco to my aunt, elderly lady. I stayed there for about 2 weeks when she said, Rob, you don't have a job yet. You should have a job yet. San Francisco is it for jobs. True, but the jobs were all in a field that I was not very familiar with. Banking, commerce, and I came from with an industrial background of various, the factory in Holland, the tire factory in Akron. So I had to build on that knowledge. She then said, after about a week at her home, or 10 days, something like that, "Rob, why don't you take my car and drive all the way down south to Los Angeles? There are the factories, Firestone, Goodyear, Michelin, Japanese, all the rubber factories that you can think of." So I took that car and went down South Highway 101, and I passed the newest Firestone plant in Salinas, California. That was just there producing tires no longer than 1 year. That new. So I went in, drove in with my car, and went to talk to the personnel department. And I had printed in the Netherlands my resume already, a whole set of, whole stack of resumes, and I gave that to the personnel manager there. When he saw my background, "We need to hire a supervisor for one of our departments, final inspection called, and would you like to work there?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take that anytime." So boom, I was in. And at that time, I returned back to my aunt in Atherton and said, "I've got the job." Then she said, "There is the telephone. Call Teak and tell her that she can come over." And that's what happened. And I had my glorious call to my wife in the Netherlands and said, "Honey, you have to work on getting tickets and sell the house that I had." That was my house. That gave me the funds to start over here, buy a car and have a down payment on my first house here in Salinas. And that's how she went to work. And a couple of months, this call was in August, and in December, she came over by ship with the family, having sold the car. I had a car there, and then she was picked up by me in Long Beach. She went through the Panama Canal, and then I picked her up at Long Beach and drove her home to Salinas. And there was the house that I had already purchased. So that was all marvelous. It worked out fine. And then she had an opportunity to become the top dog secretary of Palma High School after taking a course at Harnell College, renewing her knowledge of secretarial skills. And therefore, we lucked out. She could see the kids, all kids, go to school around us where we lived in Salinas, and then go to work herself after they were fed and then they were all taken care of. And then she was back home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to wait for them to come back. And we could not have hit it better than settling in Salinas. We have always been very thankful, of course, to her help. She was helping financially as well. My salary at Firestone was not all that glorious, but I was happy to work there. And there's where I threw my anchor out in Salinas, and ever since, that anchor is still in the ground. And I have no regrets that I ended up in this place, because my own kids tell me every time, Dad, you picked the best place ever. So it makes me feel good too, you know. And unfortunately, my wife died earlier when she was 75. And so I've been a widower ever since. Yeah, yeah. After hiring in with Firestone, I had a good career in the factory and later was moved up to personnel recruiter. And I did that with gusto and enjoying it. And I have a very good memory of having worked for this company. Firestone was good to me, and our house that I had bought for the family was very, very adequate. Had 5 bedrooms, and as I already said, Teak, my wife, and the mother of the kids, was there when they left for school and came back from school. And she was just a marvelous person to have in a circle of friends. So we are very happy that we entered in this part of our life. I would like to bring up something for my children and grandchildren. My life has shown that you should accept what is placed in front of you. And the other word is adapt to the situation that you are in at that time. Don't complain too quickly and too much. There is no help coming other than from yourself. You need to be aware that you are a unique person on earth. It's only you. And that's what you realize then. There is the help is possible. There is definitely plenty help in the world, but it has to, you have to instigate that help. You have to be the starter of that help to yourself. Don't whine too quickly, or at all for that matter. But if the cross is too heavy to carry by yourself, there is plenty help in the world. Your own family and many other places where you can turn to. I hope that this will help you, these words of mine, that it's worth living. Don't go down on yourself hard and think bad things about ending life and all that. None of that works at all. And when my family and I settled in Salinas, it wasn't more than a week later that we found a great church almost next door to our house. And that church has been still in my life a very big rock that you can lean on. A church will do marvelous work on you when you are believing that there is Jesus Christ daily who is backing you up, but you need to believe in Jesus Christ. Without your belief, there is nothing. You need to believe. So, with that, I like to end this by wishing all my kids, grandkids, great grandkids, a good future, and the Christian belief as the salvation of your life forever and eternity.
So, with the joy of watching my dear dad here at age 71 for me, now turning 100 next April, I just get to enjoy the preciousness of life. Dad's bringing us through church and agreeing with every word he says that the belief in Jesus is profound. No other way to say it, to love on life and appreciate what Mom and Dad have brought to us in our family. And then if I get a chance to reflect on some high points as a young kid, Dad was always so exuberant at summer vacations, taking us through places like Shaver Lake, Mariposa, and probably as a young kid, Disneyland.
Oh, yeah, every
Dad
year.
was part of Firestone's editor program, and Disneyland offered free rides all day long to families that belonged to Editor's Day. And it didn't take long to just recognize the value and the joy of running around Disneyland. So these are some very warm memories of Dad leading the charge, even to the point that on one of the trips we camped near Disneyland to make it affordable.
And sandwiches in the park. Soggy sandwiches. Do you remember
Right. Soggy sandwiches.
that? Yep. And the VW bus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So he had bought a 1965 VW bus. That's how he picked us up at the port. And we thought he was the richest man in America. It had a little refrigerator.
Right.
Do you remember that? And he had his reel-to-reel. He had all his music set up. And of course, as kids, we just thought he was the hero. And now as an older person, I remember Mom's face and now what it meant. Like, oh, we're going to put all 6 of us in this non-limousine thing.
I think it even had a little portable TV.
Oh, yeah, that had the little 13
Yeah.
8-inch,
13-inch black and white.
which we kept for years.
Years.
Yeah, that was our TV. We had no TV in Holland, so we were living high off the hog.
That's right.
But always his smile, his exuberance, no matter if the chips were down or not, he could make delicious lemonade out of any lemons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then based on his experience, it was always, you have problems? You don't have problems. Have you been in a war? We had the war. What do you have?
That's right.
You have no problems, right? You remember that?
Yeah.
So I think his resiliency, both of them, that you just adapt and you have your family. The loyalty to the family was amazing.
Yeah. And growing up with no hesitation, I never recalled Dad complaining about anything.
Mm-mm.
Life was always protected.
Yep.
And I like to think I've been able to do that with my family.
Yeah, and he was our first Sunday school teacher. I mean, church was very important. And think for yourself, but believe. Reading, always a book. So
Yeah.
those foundational things, right? Like if you can, he used to say, you can find anything in a good book. You can teach yourself anything. And you'll always have some friend around if you have a book. So that was modeled and expected. They didn't get a chance to finish their education, so education was huge. I have to say all 4 of his kids and 12 of his grandkids, everyone finished college with a degree.
And maybe the last quick story that I have is coming through the Panama Canal as a 12-year-old. And Dad had asked me to make sure I took proper pictures of the whole trip, 2 weeks worth coming out of Holland, and expecting to see him in San Francisco, but he couldn't resist meeting us already in Los Angeles. So it was just pure joy to
Yeah, it was a great
to
reunion.
greet Dad. And then we drove up Highway 1, scenic, all the way from LA into Monterey. And our first vision of sparkly lights was coming over the hill out of Pebble Beach. And
By the Macy's,
Macy's
on
Del Monte
68.
Shopping Center.
And I was asleep, and they woke me up. This is America.
Yes.
Wake up.
Wake up. It's all sparkly
It
here.
was. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. He made everything fun.
Yeah.
The best memories.
Editor's Day is in reference to Dad being an editor with the Firestone Factory, and Disney looking to reward anybody that gave articles about Disney Company. So they created this interesting idea of a free day for families to enjoy the promotion. And it didn't take long for it to grow from 1 day to 2 days to 2 weekends for us to pick from. But yeah, it was a real popular experience to get to run around Disneyland and not have to get special tickets.
And back then, they just let us loose. We come from that generation, drink out of the hose, don't come home until the streetlights are on.
Right.
And but both of our parents always took a great interest in what we had done that day. Family dinner at night. Everyone got to share.
Yeah, and kudos to Dad for picking out the most amazing house to grow up in, close to 4 high schools, a block from church, nothing that you couldn't just release your kids to experience growing up.
Yeah, because he knew we'd only have one car. So yeah, he was always foresightful. When he came to the States, he took a map and put a grid, high school, elementary school, whatever it was, and then church, and placed himself somewhere in that area. Strategic. So we always camped.
Yeah.
And then it was the Three Musketeers. Miriam didn't want to go anymore. Mom was really happy not to have to go. But she would cook us the food, and then we'd load up the V-dub.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we'd go camp, right? And he would set everything up and then say, I'm over here reading, don't drown, and clean up after yourselves. And it wasn't just general camping. It was, you have to climb something, and hopefully you don't die.
Yeah,
Right.
And then later it'd be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that,
that's right.
that guy. But he said, my people always climbed the mountains and swam in the oceans. Oh, he gave us the gift of swim. He was our first swim instructor. Swimming, kayaking, adventure, biking, rollerblading.
Rollerblading. Yeah,
He was at rollerblading at the age of 80, still behind a little stroller.
that's right.
Yeah.
The picture on the piano.
And healthy eating, no junk food for us.
Yeah, and even today, the legacy, Dad swims 6 days a week, and I have that profound privilege to swim alongside him 3
No, I
days a
have
week.
the profound.
No, I do.
No,
You
I'm
get
his favorite.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Saturdays and Sundays.
7 days a week.
Well, we
But-
all fight for him, and so do my kids.
But I guess it would be wonderful to say the legacy of health that Dad has passed on to us is absolutely delightful, remarkable, and healthy.
No excuses.
But yeah, he taught me more than anything, exercise is something that you have to have fun doing. So if it's not fun, you have very little desire to do exercise. So between swimming, biking, oh, and Dad, sure, here we go, introduced me at 18 to racquetball. Hartnell College, 1973. Dad had to stop after a year having hurt his elbow, but dear son Martin would keep going for 35 years. Tournaments, best
I think
gift.
he was in his 50s when he did that.
Probably.
Late 40s, early
He's 30
50s.
years older than I am. So, yeah, Dad was 52, introduced me to get going with racquetball. And, from that to jogging with Dad, inspired when Dad would say, join me at Salinas High School, 6 a.m. And there, little Martin, I'll join you, Dad.
Well, and he was a runner. You guys got into running.
Yeah.
You and Mark.
Right.
And
So,
yeah, the ocean, the love of the ocean, swimming in the ocean all the time.
but yeah, all of it to just keep coming back to Dad and that legacy that, yeah, he left all of us to enjoy the exuberance of life. Yeah.
And loving
Thank
each
you,
other.
Dad.
Always loving each other.
Yeah.
And that the greatest gift is each other. Because after he's gone, he said, after we're gone, you have your siblings. So take care of each other.
Yeah. Here
That's
we are.
what we do. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
We love
Thanks,
you.
Dad. Love you. Mwah.
Here is my breakfast. That's what I eat every day, and the content of it here is oatmeal, apricots, blueberries, cranberries, prunes, and walnuts. Well, that gives me the energy to go on for most of the day. And then this is supposed to be breakfast that I don't eat at breakfast time. I come back from swimming around 1 o'clock. That's when I consume my breakfast. When I have a full stomach, there is some problem when I swim. I have heartburn, and I don't have heartburn when I have an empty stomach in swimming. So the moment I come back from the pool, I have a hearty appetite and eat it with great pleasure, looking forward to it. But that is around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and my next meal is dinner time around 7 o'clock, something like that, 7 or sometimes even later, when I have appetite. That's my menu for the day, 2 meals per day.